Bureau of Labor Statistics, for every dollar a white man made in 2020, the average woman made roughly 82 cents. The 2021 Fortune 500 list, which lists the 500 most profitable U.S. industrial corporations, only featured 41 female CEOs, that's 8.2%, and for the first time ever, featured 2 black female CEOs, making up 0.04% of the list. These examples, along with several others, indicate that the United States still has much progress to make until women have an equal place in society. This is especially true for women of color and marginalized communities who also face additional challenges, including representation. Their voices are often harder to be heard and their stories slower to be told. In order to continue the progress of the feminist movement, the focus must now shift to women of color and marginalized communities and creating a society where they are seen as equal. Artists such as Hung Liu and Gabriela Lena are helping to shift this focus in the fields of music and art. Chinese-American artist Hung Liu is one of the first female Chinese-American artists to be largely recognized in the Western world. Her work encapsulates women, often marginalized, and comments on the development of gender dynamics in China. On display is her 2004 piece, Mongolia's Moon, which pictures a woman, perhaps a mother or maternal figure, and a child surrounded by various symbols of Chinese culture. It embodies the toughness of women that Liu aimed to depict in her works. The art comments on the motherly role that women are most often expected to fill, and additionally, it offers a glimpse into the gender expectations ingrained into Liu's female existence. I've chosen to pair this work with a piece written by Gabriela Lena, a female American artist who is of Peruvian descent, partially deaf, and disabled. She's been named by Washington Post as one of the most significant women composers of all time, and recently received the Heinz Award in the Arts and Humanities category for breaking gender, disability, and cultural barriers in the classical music industry, and for her work as an activist on behalf of emerging composers of all demographics and aesthetics. Her music is often inspired by the experiences in Andean South America, and as such, we can infer that her experiences as a woman of color influence her writing as well. Her solo suite for violin, Suite Mestiza, does just this. The fourth movement, Pinkillo, Llorando, or crying flute, features a simple figure which can be heard in several iterations as the voice, or the flute, cries to find its voice. The story told throughout the piece ties stunningly well into the basis of feminism, women finding their voice and fighting for it to be heard. The flute figure, which I have interpreted as the voice of a woman, is littered with half steps and abnormal note lengths, making it sound unstable and almost weeping. Throughout the movement, the figure can be heard transforming into something more confident and vocal. Halfway through, the music takes on a different tone, marked by ponticello tremolo that is almost hazy and uncertain, but is interjected with angry chromatic passages and defiant accents, signifying frustration with not being heard. And, in my opinion, may have been a catalyst of the publicly fierce second wave of feminism, in which several steps towards women's rights were made. The music then goes on, and the haziness and uncertainty grow into a whirling sense of chaos. Instead of being interjected with defiance, however, a stronger, more beautiful passage emerges. Frank marks this passage as como un grito, which means like a scream. This section of the piece makes me think of times when I felt that screaming is the only way to be heard at all, a feeling that I know many people, especially women, have experienced. But the movement ends abruptly, as if it's been cut off, symbolizing how women have made so much progress in society, but even still, they are struggling to be heard. As you listen to this movement, I invite you to look at Mongolia's moon and ponder the woman in the painting. Who was she? And what was her story? Did she feel like her voice was being heard? Does this woman reflect any women in my own life? Am I listening to their voices? Am I letting their stories be told? As you contemplate these questions, I want to remind you that while things have progressed, we still have a long way to go until we live in a truly gender-equal society. I also wish to remind you that acts of feminism need not be large. The amount of progress that can be made from subtle acts of feminism, as Hung Liu and Gabriela Lena have shown, is enormous and will continue to progress the movement for years to come. Neither Liu nor Frank need to identify themselves or their work as explicitly feminist, for their success as female artists to be seen as such. Their art is inherently an act of feminism because it uplifts the core ideas of the movement through female empowerment and makes progress towards a society where women are no longer seen as less than, but as equal. Liu and Frank's works, the recognition they have received, and the support that they continue to get, opens doors for female marginalized artists to be seen and represented within the realms of art and music. Mongolia's moon and Pinkillo Llorando serve as beautiful reminders to listen to women's stories and speak up when their voices cannot be heard.